Thank you all so much for tuning in tonight in this episode of The Boss Babes. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. Tonight, what we are talking to is Dave Stugsmith. So what we're doing tonight is the same thing we do every week. We go behind the scenes with your favorite athletes to talk about their lives outside of the game and how they're giving back to their local communities. So, Brittany, I know we have a really big show tonight, our first of 2020, which we're so excited to share with you. Brittany, let's kick it off.
Yeah, so we just want to welcome you guys all back from the holiday season. I know that we took a 2-week break, so welcome back and thank you for joining us. I know it's not the best way to return from the holiday season, but we're going to talk about the Patriots. So here's a picture of Tom Brady. A lot of us are very upset at the fact that the Patriots obviously got knocked out the first round against the Tennessee Titans. Very sad, very upsetting, but honestly, I'm going to sit here and say the team this year just was not built to win the Super Bowl. It wasn't. We didn't have the receivers. We lost Rob Gronkowski. Our main receiver, for the most part, was Julian Edelman, and we all know he's a very productive, talented athlete, but going up against tall athletes, they were just knocking the ball out of his hand like it was nothing. Like, he literally looked like a college athlete getting toyed on by somebody in middle school. So we basically just weren't built this year to win the Super Bowl, and it was a nail-biter game, a nail-biter season. After 2 decades of dominance and the Patriots being very resilient, there's a lot of speculation going on right now about retiring, a new team, and what is Tom Brady doing? Is he going to be staying with the team or not? Emma, what do you think about Tom Brady? Do you think he's going to be staying with the Patriots? He's currently a free agent. Do you think he's going to be moving on to another team, which I really hope that does not happen, or do you think he might be retiring?
I mean, we all know that speculation is definitely not my favorite thing, right? It's not for me to say. There are a lot of things that are going on behind the scenes that I think that we don't get to know, right? So we don't get to see all those conversations that they're having in the locker rooms. We don't get to see, those personal conversations that he's having. So it's really hard for us to say. One thing that, I think that we've all noticed is that Tom Brady has done a lot this year, right? Not only in the past year has he been leading such an incredible team, but on top of all of that, he's also been launching his own brand, TB12. He's also been, having a family. He's a father. He's a husband. He's moving in his personal life to Connecticut. We've watched a lot go on with him. And I think that, with everything going on in his personal life, I don't think it's unfair to say that, he may have a lot on his mind, just like we all do in our daily lives, right? And it's important to remember that he is a human. So, whatever it is, it's really tough to say. We can sit and make guesses all day, but at the end of the day, Tom Brady is a human being. He is a man, and he is someone that is really and truly doing his best to do his job, not only for his team, but for his family at home and for his own brand that he wants to launch. So I think there's a lot. Do I think that he's personally retiring? I mean, I don't think it's for me or really any of us to say that's a personal decision that only Tom can make. And I know people have said that about the Best Buddies challenge as well. People have speculated, with stepping down from that, is that a bigger sign? Does that mean something else? And, I don't think so. I've noticed in the past couple of years that it's the same thing with, James White and Sweet Feet for Strikes. That was an event that we covered that in the past had belonged to somebody else, and it's something that the organizations themselves continue to support. So it really wasn't a shock to me when he passed it on. It was something that they've been doing with the Best Buddies organization before he even joined it. Anthony Shriver has put so much work into it, and I think bringing the New England Patriots in was a great thing for them. But I don't think that all of these things can be easily read into, and could they be pointing to something bigger? Absolutely, but I don't think that it's really for us to say. I think that it's just, him trying to improve himself constantly, just like we all do. We all make decisions in our life, right? So it's really sad that we don't get to go to the Super Bowl. Everybody's sad. Every team in America is sad when their team doesn't make the Super Bowl. And unfortunately, this year, we're just one of those teams.
I personally think that he's not going to retire. I've actually been reading his book, The TB12 Method, and he's very resilient. He's very determined, and he just loves the sport of football. He actually was drafted to play minor league baseball before actually deciding to play professional football. So he's just a natural-born athlete. He loves to compete, and I don't think he's ready to give it up. And I truly believe if he does decide to leave New England, he will always have a piece of his heart here. His number will be retired here. His number will be hung up. He will be in the Hall of Fame at some point. And if he does leave, like you mentioned earlier, Emma, he obviously has the TB12 facility here. I think even if he does decide to leave New England and go play for Dallas or for the Chargers or whoever he decides to play for, hopefully he doesn't, he will still come back to New England and still have a piece of heart here with us. I actually have a quote from Tom Brady. He recently said, "I'm not crushingly disappointed. We fought hard, our heads held high. Every season doesn't end in a Super Bowl win. It's exciting when it does. I think I can still play at the championship level." So Tom being a free agent, to me, that makes me think him saying, "I think I can still play at a championship level," makes me think, honestly, he's not going to leave. And I also have another quote from Bob Kraft saying, "Tom wanted to be a free agent before the season started. I hope and pray he comes back." So again, along with Bob Kraft, along with all of New England, most of us do hope that he does stay here, but there are some people that want him to leave. So who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah. I don't know. Again, I think it's one of those things that it's like everybody wants to speculate right now. I think because there's so much emotion, right? There's so much that's going on. There's so much tension going on. Everybody is kind of still recovering from the shock factor, I think, of us being so fortunate over these past few years. But moving forward, I do think that it's ultimately going to be a decision that we can guess all we want, but none of us are a fly on the wall in those discussions as much as we may want to be. But, looking forward to 2020, as they would say, on to 2020. There's been a lot going on with regards to, celebrating and bringing in that new year and starting fresh, just like we know the Patriots are going to do. So I know that we have some pictures that you brought up tonight that we're going to share. And, my husband and I, as you guys know, we got married in September. We celebrated a very fun New Year's Eve. We had a fun little Roaring 20s party. He made me laugh just before I kissed him, so please excuse that awkward little kiss photo that we have going on. One of his specialties is making me laugh all the time. But we had a really fun, 20s themed New Year's Eve party. But Britt, I know you did some fun things as well. You got to catch up with pretty much everybody.
Yeah. Excuse me, guys. Sorry, I just caught my throat right there. But I actually did a lot of fun stuff over the holiday break. One of the things was I actually got to hang out with Gordy Gronkowski. So we're going to pop up a photo right here of his brother Rob and Camille. They were actually at Times Square.
She's so cute and everything she does. I love her. We
love Camille, and we're hoping that she actually comes in studio with us sooner than later. But Camille and Rob, they actually celebrated right in downtown New York. I've actually never done that before. They were dancing, they were doing the YMCA, having a good time, stealing that New Year's Eve kiss. So
spiking Steve Harvey's Lego.
Yeah, let's talk about him spiking Steve Harvey's Lego. Do you guys think that was staged, or do you think that he genuinely just did that and Steve is just pissed off at him? Emma, what do you think?
The look on Steve Harvey's face, I mean, it's irreplaceable, really. So if that was staged, then more power to him. I mean,
he deserves an Emmy.
He really does. He really does. He was so shocked, and it was hilarious. I mean, he was like, "Do you know how hard brown Legos are to get? Like, oh my goodness! Like, did you see that? I can't work with him anymore." Like, it was so it was hilarious. So if anything, I think that Lego should definitely be sending Steve Harvey a new bust, because I think that he deserves that. That was so cool. Like, it was awesome. But that is typical Gronk, right? Is to joke around and, goof off and do things like that. So whether it was staged or not, it was pretty funny. I just hope that they get him a new Lego.
I think it would have been even more funny if they did a Steve Harvey piñata, because then you would have known that was staged. You can't have a Steve Harvey piñata and not think that Rob's not going to go out there and smash it. Come on.
I don't know. I thought it was really cool to look at. I thought it was really neat. It was obviously very well done. They did a great job with it. But that was really interesting. I think it was a very entertaining New Year's Eve. I'll say that.
It was very entertaining. And continuing with the holiday break, so I actually got to shoot really quickly with Megan Kang. She is a professional women's golfer. She's actually down in Florida right now training. But Megan Kang is super cool. She's going to be coming on our show very soon, actually, in the month of February. And switching over to Charles Rosa, there's a reason why we're talking about him, because he has a little bit to do with our special guest, which we're going to be introducing sooner than later. But Charles Rosa, as you guys know, he came on our show a few months ago, and he was in town for the holidays, so him and I actually went ice skating together with our friend Brittany and his brother. We're going to be kicking off shortly to Calvin Cater. So Calvin Cater is a local UFC fighter. Him and I actually went to high school together. And he recently had a fight in Moscow, Russia. He was the headlining fight. He ended up losing. However, he actually just announced that he's going to be fighting in Vegas at UFC 248 against Jeremy Stevens. So if you guys are UFC fans, he is going to be fighting next month. I'm super excited about that, so keep posted. And also, January 17th, Combat Zone in Manchester. If you guys are MMA fans, you guys should totally go to the Manchester MMA fights. Calvin is actually one of the co-owners of Combat Zone, so shout outs to them. I will actually be there, and that's actually where this interview that we're about to play of Calvin Kattar, I actually shot that with him about a month ago. So I want to roll this quick interview with him so you guys can learn a little bit more about the MMA life and a local fighter that kills it on and off the octagon.
We're here at Combat Zone. It's really important for the community to get behind this because we're really trying to get these local fighters, give them a platform to get to the next level and hopefully have an opportunity to fight in the UFC like myself. Going to Russia was a great experience, being in the main event for the UFC. Felt like I was living out the Rocky IV real life. And as we know Rocky's story, you know, you don't win them all, but I'm really excited about stepping back in there, putting it on the line, being a representation for the area, for mixed martial arts, and I just can't wait to go back and get my hand raised. Would have beat him in 5. I'll have another opportunity, and I'm going to walk him down like the Terminator. I can't wait.
We're here tonight with Calvin Kattar, UFC fighter. He's actually a local from the Boston area. Grew up in Methuen, Massachusetts. Now, Calvin, you just came back from Russia. We're going to get into that in a second. But how was it transitioning and growing up in Methuen, Massachusetts, being a wrestler in Methuen and jumping into the UFC?
Wasn't too bad of a transition. I felt like everybody I lost to in wrestling, if I could have just punched them in the face, I would have won. So it's a great transition for me to go right into mixed martial arts and then eventually the UFC.
How was your experience growing up in Methuen, Massachusetts? I know you're a lot of great friends with some of the people from high school. What was the experience like, Christmas, living in Methuen, and also going to high school and being a hometown grown boy? Yeah,
small town. It was fun. We, always getting into trouble, but I mean, you're familiar. We went to high school together.
Yes, we went to high school together.
So it was fun.
And how was it having Coach James as your coach? Did he push you into wanting to be in the UFC?
Yeah, subliminally. He didn't know it, but he's an animal, man. Just a great coach to have at a pivotal point in your, growing up in high school where you're real pliable to go left or right. He put us on the right path, and I was fortunate to have great coaches all my career. I'm more of a stand-up guy, but it's a lot of work to be prepared to defend jiu-jitsu guys, wrestlers, and all the different things that they like to do. I really only mostly show more of my stand-up, but I'm prepared everywhere, and it's a lot of hard work in order to make sure that, that you don't have too big of weaknesses stepping in there, because if you do, they'll expose it.
All right. So the main reason why we just talked about Charles Rosa and Calvin Kattar, obviously MMA fighters, our special guest, Doug Smith, is basically an MMA fighter on skates, right, Emma?
I mean, pretty much. And you told us off camera that your father was a fighter as well.
He was. He was an amateur boxer, and I think from a young age, I kind of enjoyed that sport. That's a tough segue to come into off of those animals that you just interviewed. Those guys are the real deal. But yeah, I mean, I enjoyed that sport when I was a kid growing up. I enjoyed boxing as an amateur, and obviously today UFC is huge and very successful.
And you told us that credit should be going to your mother, who was the one that kind of snuck you into it, even when your father,
She did. My father, who was an amateur boxer, like I said, he didn't want me to box. He just thought it was dangerous. And I wanted to at least try it. And my mother actually took me to my first amateur fight behind his back. She drove me. I was too young to drive. So that was pretty cool.
But she could see that you were passionate about it, and obviously it led to an incredible career for you as an enforcer on the ice. Can you talk more to us about that journey, about how you wound up getting there from that first game that you went to?
The whole hockey thing was almost by accident. And I didn't really play hockey as a kid growing up. I didn't play high school or juniors or college. In fact, I really didn't start skating until I was about 19 years old. And that was just on a pond in my hometown of Hanover. And hanging out with my good friends like Adam Fratazio, who actually wrote the book. He was the one that kind of persuaded me into learning to skate with the guys, just to hang out. And once I did that a few times, it really started to snowball in the fighting aspect, because he always felt like if you're balance is good enough and you know how to fight already, you might be able to go somewhere with this. And we never imagined it would go as far as it did, obviously.
But that's incredible that, I mean, now looking back today, we have, you know, a book, we have a movie. That's a really huge deal. How has that been for you, coming from, you know, a small town in Hanover to now having all of this having blossomed?
You know what? I still don't even sometimes think it's real. You know, it happened so long ago, number one. And, you know, I'm kind of an old guy now, getting on with kids and married and a job. So it's almost like it's been reborn. And, I mean, I absorb the attention. I love it. I try to run with it. You know, everyone should have 15 minutes of fame, so to speak. And I try to use it in a lot of good ways. You know, I try to be involved with charities and things like that. And, you know, it's been obviously a real positive thing in my life.
And growing up in Hanover, Massachusetts, obviously with your family, I know that you didn't start playing ice hockey. I know we talked about it earlier until you were about age 20. So what types of sports did you play before that? Were you athletic? Did you play any other sport when you were younger?
I really was just amateur boxing, and I don't know if this is a sport. But
doing it behind your mom's back, of course.
A lot of wiffle ball. Is that a sport?
I mean, it could be. Did you used to play silly bat when you would put on your head and spin around?
Right. But, yeah, just, you know, through high school, I just kind of keyed on the amateur boxing, and I thought that was something that I might, you know, take to a higher level at some point. But it just didn't evolve. And then the hockey, like I said, fell in my lap, and I ran with it.
And what was your favorite point about getting into, I know you said that you played for the AHL. What teams did you play for? And we can't even really talk about you training or anything like that, because it almost sounds like it just happened and it was fate. And you almost just, after me watching the movie The Goon, which we're going to get into shortly, it almost just seems like you were just there for fun. Like
it was certainly fun.
Like you had some skills involved, but it was almost like you were just there just to be that enforcer and to antagonize other people and to get the crowd pumping and going.
For sure. And back when I played, fighting was really allowed in the game. Not that it isn't now in the professional level, but they've certainly...
It's definitely tamed down a lot.
They've definitely tried to extinguish it, for sure. But back when I had played, you know, a team could have a guy on the bench that just did that role. I was kind of like an insurance policy. I might not even skate a whole game at all. I just might be on the bench. But if another team had a tough guy who was kind of acting up, I was the guy that would go out and say, hey, you know, if you want to fool around, I'm your guy. Don't waste your time with, you know, I mean, because you don't want a tough guy picking on like a Bergeron or a Marchand.
Right.
I mean, you want the other tough guy. And, you know, two alpha males, that's the way it goes.
You want to see like Ovechkin versus Sean Thornton or something like that. Exactly. You don't want to see Sidney Crosby and Patrice Bergeron fighting each other, because that's not a good fight at all. Right.
So, I mean, my job was strictly for, you know, protecting my teammates. Of course, like you said, entertaining the crowd. They loved it. I mean, no one goes for a drink or a popcorn when a fight breaks out. They all stand up and watch it, and they love it.
So can we talk a little bit about the locker room, and then also, if you want to get into some funny stories, we want to hear what were some of your favorite fight moments. Like, who were some of your favorite people that used to fight on the ice?
That's my question. That's such a good question.
Well, I was pretty lucky. I mean, the guys that I got to go against, most of them were NHL caliber fighters. They had played in the NHL, or they were pretty close. They made it to at least the American League. And listen, my story is simple. I'm not here. I didn't write books, and I didn't have movies because I won my fights. In fact, I probably lost most of my fights. But it was an underdog story. You know, I didn't have my first organized hockey game until I was 22 years old. And that's really late. And, you know, so I think the public absorbed it more as, like I said, a long shot guy who just happened to make it. And I enjoyed the fighting aspect. I know that sounds crazy, but I enjoyed the one-on-one competition.
But it sounds like that was kind of almost in your blood, that was something that, you know, over the years you just grew into, and watching your father, you know, fight as well.
Right.
And did you ever have any moments on the ice where you were there and you were just like, oh man, I know I have to go in, but this one's going to be a tough one?
Oh, they were all tough on me, believe me, because I was so unsure of my balance. And again, I'm playing against guys that they've been fighting for years. And I'm 6'2", 240 when I played, and these guys are all much bigger, much heavier than I am.
Oh, so you're just like a full foot taller than me. Okay.
Yeah.
Just wanted to make sure.
But these guys they were real big guys. And so I was definitely, you know, the underdog in all of them. But it was just the point of showing up, the willingness to do a job that nobody else wants to do for a team, And I think that's how I got employed by a lot of teams, is just my willingness.
What were some of your favorite teams that you played for? I know that you mentioned that you played in the AHL.
I mean, in the AHL, that's probably the second best hockey league in the world, behind the NHL. I mean, my first game was with the Moncton Hawks. That was the Winnipeg Jets farm team. I mean, I had one notorious fight, which makes the cover of my book, with that black guy, and I got killed. But it didn't matter. It was glory to make it to that level from being on a pond just a few years earlier.
Speaking of these black eyes, how many black eyes did you used to get? And did you ever lose any teeth? I know there's some ice hockey players that never get their teeth fixed, never get their black eyes completely fixed. Like they just have that bone bruise under there, and it looks like they got cheek fillers.
Right.
Have you ever lost any teeth?
I've lost a couple of teeth.
Do you have any fake teeth, Doug?
Yeah, I have a couple, but they're not actually from fighting. They're from errant sticks being swung around, jostling for the puck in the corner, and whatever. So really not from fighting. And believe it or not, I haven't really gotten hurt that bad in fighting. I've never been knocked out. I've taken a lot of punches, but I mean that's part of the game. And you forget that you're actually fighting with bare hands. There's no gloves. There's no protection. So you're really absorbing a fist. And, of course, it's going to mock you no matter what.
Now, we have a couple questions that have been coming in. And thank you guys all so much for watching. We appreciate every single one of you. So thank you so much. Jason Davis was talking about your fight with Bob McGill. Can you tell us what was going through your mind in those moments when you were fighting with Bob?
I don't think I fought Bob McGill. I hate to ruin that question. I don't think I fought Bob McGill.
Well, I was looking at it, and I was like, you know what? Maybe I missed something.
That's okay. I don't know if I fought Bob McGill because he actually played in the NHL, I believe, for Toronto, and I did not play in the NHL.
Gotcha. Okay, so sorry, guys. There was no Bob McGill fight. Right. But a couple of people have brought up that you are a better golfer. Is there a story that we're missing here? Tell us about your golfing skills.
They suck. Sorry, but they're not that good.
Come on,
but I think the transaction, or the transition, I should say, from hockey to golf is kind of natural. I think a lot of hockey players play golf. And I think the swing is similar. It's not identical, but swinging a club is comparable to a slap shot, say.
I was going to say, for me, when I was actually playing with Megan Kang, she was trying to teach me how to swing, and I did terrible, guys. I literally kept on picking up the club like a hockey stick, like keeping my hands far apart. She was like, no, they have to be up close. And then I was picking it up like a baseball bat because I used to play softball. So I don't know how you guys transitioned that easily, because for me, it was horrific. I kept on grabbing it like a hockey stick.
Yeah, there's a lot going on with golf that I've learned, late in life. But, speaking of Megan, I mean, I've met her before. I go to the Harmon Golf Club in Rockland. My buddy Greg Simeone.
We love Greg. Woo!
Greg's a great guy. And Jay Durfee, who used to work there, was with a PJ teaching professional there. And those two guys helped me out. And Megan's dad is an instructor there. Lee is his name, and he's a fantastic guy. He's helped me out tremendously. My game is really one-dimensional. I can drive the ball. I can bomb it. And putting and chipping is a horror show. But I still enjoy the game. I love it.
Are you kind of like Happy Gilmore when it comes to golfing?
Yeah, I'm happy for sure.
I love that. That's awesome. And I wanted to ask you, when you are fighting, were you the type of person that would, when you're starting to throw the punches, pull the jersey up over somebody's head, or are they the one pulling your jersey up?
I had a lot of tricks to keep my jersey tied down, and that never really happened to me.
Okay, so hang on now. We got to know what these tricks are.
Well, I mean, they always have a tie down on the back of the jersey. A tie down is something that's sewn into the shirt, and it clips onto the back of your pants so it doesn't get pulled over the back of your head. But I would also tie a string around the front of my jersy too, so it wouldn't get pulled up over my face.
So you purposely did that so no one would pull your jersey up.
Right.
That's a really cool trick.
It is, and I had a hard enough time with my opponent. I didn't need any distractions with the jersey in my face or whatnot.
There's no time for that.
There's no time for that. But, the fights last 10, 15 seconds tops. I mean, you're really just trying to throw as hard and fast as you can without getting knocked out, of course.
So Peter Metcalf, I'm actually reading one of his comments. Is he a friend of yours? Peter Metcalf says Colton Orr became a killer in the NHL because of you. So did you have a fight with him? Did you train him? Talk to us about Colton Orr.
So Peter Metcalf played in the Boston Bruins organization. He's a local guy, and I worked for the Boston Bruins for 8 years. And my job was kind of a secret job, but I worked down in the American League in Providence with the players, and I basically just taught them how to defend themselves. And it slowly gravitated from teaching the Europeans and the college kids who don't play rough North American-style hockey how to defend themselves to guys who do fight for a living, like a Colton Orr, who played in the Bruins organization, Toronto, New York. He bounced around, and he was actually considered at one time to be the heavyweight champion of the NHL. But he was in Providence as a rookie, and I worked with him and just kind of, helped him along. He already had the skill. He just needed a little push, how to work on certain things. But, that was a great time for me, my time working with the Bruins, for sure.
Now we have another question from Gary Brown. He wants to know who your favorite NHL fighter is.
Well, today, there's not a lot of fighters left, and I hate to say it.
There's not a lot of fighters
there really
anymore.
isn't.
It's more about finesse.
It is. I mean, and the game's really going over to that style. I mean, back in the day, there were so many good guys. I'll always be partial to Boston Bruins guys because I've got to work with so many of them. Thornton's a great guy. I mean, all those guys, they're fantastic, and they're all worthy because they're all warriors in a sense.
Awesome. Okay, guys, well, you have given us so many questions. This has been awesome. Please keep them coming. We are loving them. Now, in looking back in all of these days, you've done a lot, right? So it sounds like there could almost even be like another book. I mean, my gosh, all of the things that you've done, it's incredible. Looking back in all your years from working in your, secret job with the Bruins and from doing, what you've been doing on the ice and even where you are today, have you had any specific moments in your career where you were like, wow, this is it?
Well, like I said earlier, I mean, the whole hockey thing just came out of nowhere, and the exposure I've gotten from it, it's incredible. I mean, I couldn't even begin to tell you how it feels as far as, the notoriety, trying to play down the celebrity status. It's just not me, but I'm loving it, and I go with it, and I try to use it outside of hockey and outside of my job as a cop. I'm a cop down in Hanson, and I just try to use it the best I can.
But now your mother, I thought this was crazy when you told us this. Your mother still hasn't seen that movie.
Well, the movie Goon is pretty vulgar. I mean, for those who haven't seen it, the language is atrocious. And my mother, she's older, and she probably would get a chuckle out of a few scenes. But the language and the locker rooms, and it's tough for an old lady.
And do you feel like that was kind of a real representation of what it was actually like for you?
The movie itself, I'd say, was probably, I know it was based off of my book, but it was loosely based. And a lot of it's Hollywood script. And, to make it a comedy and to be funny.
Of course, yeah.
Sure. Do things like that happen in the locker room? Of course they do. I mean, guys are guys, and, they act foolish and they say stupid things, and, stuff happens.
My uncle actually just mentioned Terry O'Reilly, very well known, obviously, for fighting. I don't know if Terry O'Reilly had any influence on you becoming a fighter or enjoyed watching him play in the NHL. My Uncle Jeff actually just mentioned Terry O'Reilly.
Yeah, of course. I mean, any of those Bruins from the 70s and early 80s that I would watch as a fan, and you try to learn from guys like that. That's what I would do. I would watch guys and see how are they winning, but how are they losing, and what should I try and do and not do. And a guy like O'Reilly, he was a fantastic role model.
His number, I believe, is up in the rafters right now with Rick Middleton, who Emma actually just interviewed at the alumni game 2 days ago.
Great guy.
And going back to the Goon movie, I actually had a conversation with my dad last night, and this was hilarious. I walked down, showed him this movie, and I go, Dad, do you know who Steve Stiffmeister is? Sean William Scott, of course, because he plays you in the movie. Like, do you know who Steve Stiffmeister is? And he goes, no, who is he? I'm like, he was in the American Pie movie series. How do you not know who he is? So I just thought that was super funny. My dad's actually watching tonight. But can you walk us through the process of how did you even get selected for these movies? Like, not even who called you, but why were you chosen out of all the people to have a movie series and a book written about you?
So, like I said earlier, one of my best friends, Adam Fratazio, after hearing my stories endlessly about road trips, and I would call him every night after a game, hey, I just fought this guy, or I just fought that guy, and the bus rides and the lifestyle. And after about a year or so, he says, we should really write a book, because the minor league hockey life is crazy. And so Adam really did all the legwork. He put a book together. It got published. And somebody from Hollywood, this is the story I got, found the book at an airport. And he saw the cover of the book, which has a picture of me with a big black eye, and it says Goon, which is the title. And he said he bought it. And he says by the time he took off on his flight and landed, he finished the entire book. And as soon as he got off the plane, he was calling his writing team saying, we need to make a movie about hockey enforcers. Not so much about Doug Smith or this book that I just read, but hockey enforcers has been a part of the game forever, and they're a big part of the game. And we could base our script and our story on this book because it's all about fighting. So that's kind of how it got rolling.
Oh my goodness. And then, of course, everything just kind of blossomed and rolled from there. And people are asking, is there another GOON movies coming?
There might be a 3. You and I spoke about it.
Yeah, so there's been talk that the original contract called for a trilogy of movies, 3 movies. Now, personally, I'm hoping, Stifler gets killed in this movie and it's over.
Oh, jeez.
But I mean, yeah, I think there's going to be a 3rd movie. I think I heard rumor that this spring they were going to start working on a script.
Oh, wow.
So who knows?
So the rumors could be true, guys.
They could be true, right.
And you have a small role in these actual movies. Obviously, Stiffmeister plays you in the film.
Right.
But you have told me that you have little cameos here and there. Do you think you'll get offered a part in the 3rd one as maybe an enforcer on Steve Stiffmeister's team or something?
Yeah, I would hope so. I got to be in the 2nd movie, which was awesome. And I would think that in the 3rd movie, I would hope I could at least be, the kid sweeping the floor in the locker room, just something. I'd love to be in it, one way or the other, but we'll see.
And I know that I keep talking about him, referring to him as Steve Stiffmeister from American Pie, but in the movie, his name is actually Dougie Glatt.
Right.
Obviously, your real name is Doug Smith.
Right.
So I'll start referring to him as Dougie Glatt.
Right, but he's always going to
GOON.
be known as Stifler. I mean, that was his biggest role, and he really did well in that American Pie movie.
He did do really well.
Awesome. All right, guys. So thank you all so much for sticking with us. We're going to be rolling to commercial break in just a second. And coming up to the break, we are going to have, of course, more of this interview that we have going on right now with Doug Smith. And then on top of that, we have a very special event for you that we're very excited to share, featuring Marcus Smart and his Young Game Changers Foundation. Stick with us. We will be back in just a few minutes. Thank you all so much for watching.
At Bad Martha, we believe in 3 things: great beer. At Bad Martha, we believe in 3 things: great beer, getting bad, and doing good. Every sip of our premium craft beer is a reminder that there's a paradise out there where you can kick off your boat shoes, let your hair down, and leave it all behind. That paradise is Martha's Vineyard. And while there's a bit of bad in every drop of beer we brew, there's also a whole lot of good in every can or bottle we sell. That's because Bad Martha is built on a simple idea: community first. We're proud of our beer, but we're even more proud of the island that inspired it. So much that we built a 2nd location, Bad Martha Falmouth. We hope you enjoyed both just as much as we do, and join us on the island for an afternoon or in Falmouth for a slice of our homemade pizza. Bad Martha. Get bad, do good.
Rob Gronkowski here, ex-superstar in the game of football, and now I am in the business world. And today, I am proud to announce I am part owner with my brother of Ice Shaker. We're all about the grind. We are all about inspiring others to live a healthy lifestyle and be the best person you can be. And that's what Ice Shaker is all about. And that's what we are all about. And that's why we are here today. Because we are out there to live a purpose with joy, with passion, and to inspire optimal health. We are built on toughness. We are built on grinding. We are built on keeping your drink ice cold for more than 30 hours. Check us out. Proud brother, proud family member, iceshaker.com.
You can achieve a lot using your imagination. I mean, I don't like to brag, but... Wait, who's that? And why is she all over these achievement awards? But with STEM, the sky's the limit. Shaboom! Use STEM to envision... Okay, I'm seeing it. Yeah! Invent...
Got any ideas?
I've got a few, actually. And create a better world.
Told you she's super smart.
If she can STEM, so can you. Find out more at She Can STEM.
Herd Restaurant, conveniently located here in Metro Square, features locally sourced, delicious meals created by a multi-talented chef. Hurt satisfies even the most discerning palate. We love to welcome you to come to Hurt so you may eat, drink, and spend time together. Watch for specials on our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter feeds at Hurt on Main, and come visit soon.
All right, guys, welcome back. Thank you so much for tuning in. We are super excited to be back here after the holiday break. And of course, you know, we have Doug Smith in studio with us. He's absolutely killing it tonight. But before we get back to him, we want to talk to all of you guys about the Boston Bruins Be Fit Challenge happening at the end of the month. So I believe it's January 26th. It's on a Sunday. And you guys can actually go sign up and essentially run at Boston Garden to raise money for first responders. Emma and I will actually be there filming and taping, and I'm going to be doing the challenge. I don't know if Emma's going to be doing the challenge, but I definitely will be doing it.
TBD. As we all know, or most of you know, I'm not the most athletically inclined person. I'm a little bit clumsy. Literally this morning I had like the Mondayest of Mondays. Like just getting ready in the morning, I dropped my favorite eyeshadow brush into the toilet and then proceeded to like wave at our maintenance man and just say hey and talk to him, like ran up over the curb. I was like, I'm very clumsy. So I don't know if I'm going to be doing this. I don't know though.
I love you, girl.
I could be convinced. It is for a great cause. So if you guys are around and you happen to have the time and just want to come and hang out with a really, really great group, come on out, come see us, come join us. We will all be there. My clumsy butt will be there too.
And speaking of the TD Garden, a team that actually plays at the TD Garden, the Boston Celtics, Emma and I went to a recent event. Where did we go, Emma?
So we went to an event for Marcus Smart. I don't know if you guys have heard of the Young Game Changers Foundation, but it was a pretty amazing event, and it was held not far from the Garden at Kings, so Brighton Back Bay. It was such an incredible night, and they had so many players there, and that's the thing that we try to, talk about on this show, right, is to bring to the focus what all of these athletes are doing outside of the game. There's so much work that they're doing to give back to our local communities, and this is just another example. So we're going to go ahead and roll that tape. I hope you guys enjoy it just as much as we did being there.
So Marcus Smart, I know that you started the Young Game Changer Foundation. Why is that so important to you, and what does that mean to be a game changer for the city of Boston?
I started about 4 years ago. It was to help find a cure for cancer and help mentor kids and the families that are going through, trying to find a cure, trying to get to the right hospital. I lost my brother to cancer when I was young. I lost my mom a year ago. 7 months later after my mom passed, I lost my aunt to cancer. So cancer's really been affecting me, and what it means to be a young game changer. No matter the circumstances, no matter the situation you're in, always find a way to better yourself and help better others.
I've lost members of cancer. We all know people who suffer from cancer. It's something we're trying to change.
As athletes, as people of influence, we should do more stuff in a community like this.
It really shows their commitment to our city, not just on the basketball court, but off the court, and that's amazing.
The youth is our future. These are our next president, our next mayors and politicians and things like that. So, making sure that they're on the right path and got the right guidance is something that's important.
That was such a fun night, and my favorite part of that whole night was at one point Brittany and I are standing there, and we're just chit-chatting and trying to get our shot together, and making sure that we have everything lined up properly. And all of a sudden, who comes around the corner and just like grabs me and taps me on the shoulder, and he's like, "Hey, what's up?" And then runs off, and it's Marcus Smart. And I was like, "Wait, come back! I have questions. I have so many things I want to talk to you about." And he was super cool about it. He was like, "Oh, all right, yeah." And he came back over, and he was just the most awesome guy. And it's crazy because when you talk to these athletes off the court, like on the court, they're working so hard and they're like really focused, and it's just, there's nothing stopping them. And then once you get to talk to them, they're the sweetest guys. And we actually put a post up recently too about their favorite holiday meals. I mean, when you get to actually, know them and know what they're doing for the community, they have the biggest hearts, and it is so cute and so sweet.
They do have such big hearts. And speaking about big people, Doug Smith is actually 6'2". That's pretty tall for a gentleman. But Taco Fall, let's talk about Taco Fall. He's like 7'5", and he was actually at the event as well. We didn't get to interview him, but he literally just like towered over everybody. And I think he wears like a size 16 shoe, because I took photos of his feet and I was like, Emma, look how big his feet are. Like literally I mean, you guys can't tell, but they were so big because they had all their bowling shoes set off to the side. Very talented guy. It's funny watching him, actually. I was recently at the Maine Red Claws game, and the guy like doesn't even have to jump to get the basketball. He literally just sticks his hands up and can just plop the ball in. Like back in the day when I was a little kid, my brother and sister and I used to have like one of those little kid basketball hoops, and I remember just being able to like go up and just like pop the basketball in. You didn't have to like do anything because you're a little kid. You don't know how to dribble or bounce the ball or do anything. You're just over there shooting hoops. Me watching Taco Fall is the equivalent of watching me, my brother, and my sister playing little kid basketball. Like, he literally just gets the ball and just doesn't even have to dunk it, drops it in. Like, it's bizarre. Remember how tall he was?
Yeah, no, he was really tall. So it's kind of like if someone gave me like an American Girl doll hoop, I might be able to just like, toss it in, and that might just be as even as we could get.
It's exactly like that.
So
funny.
We have, speaking of charity events, we have obviously a lot going on with Doug Smith in studio tonight, and you're doing a ton of really awesome charity events yourselves to raise money for your local communities.
I try to stay involved. I feel fortunate, like we've said throughout the night, from what I have given to me through the movie and the book, and I get asked to do events as a celebrity, and I never say no. I feel like I'm almost obligated. There's just a lot of unfortunate, people out there that just don't have a healthy way of life, and they need help. And, whether it's cancer or, diabetes. I have an 8-year-old daughter that just got diagnosed with diabetes type 1. This Saturday I'm going to do an event, Skate for the 22. Skate for the 22 is a foundation for military people that come home from service, and they need help, whether it's mental or maybe suicide prevention. It's a serious foundation, and I'm going to be at that event Saturday night it's in Springfield, Mass. But again, I just feel like I have to give a little bit back if I'm asked, And
I believe we actually did an interview with the gentleman from Skate from the 22 a while ago, so that'll be something that we talk a little bit more about off air. But in speaking further, I'm sure that in your line of work now as a police officer, you see a lot of unfortunate situations that people are really struggling through. Can we talk about how your life has changed now, so that now you're really focused on a lot of these situations and trying to help as much as you can on a daily basis?
Yeah, I mean, as a cop, you do see a lot. You go into people's homes and you see what the public doesn't get to see. And again, all police officers are the same. There might be a couple of bad apples in the batch that you see on TV, but the majority of cops, like firemen, we're there to help people, and we're there whether it's just to listen to someone's story and give them a helping hand in that way, or if it takes a fundraiser. A lot of communities pull together for a lot of people, and I know that my department in Hanson, I mean, there wouldn't be one person that wouldn't say no to anybody.
Well, Emma and I we found you or met you at the Hold the Line event. We actually recently, Emma created the whole holiday special a few weeks back before we kicked it off to Christmas. We had Nick Taziopoulos in studio. We talked a little bit about you, Militia Ice Hockey, and the Hold the Line Foundation. What was your experience like skating for that team and being a part of the Hold the Line Foundation? And do you plan on skating with them in the near future?
Yeah, I mean, that's an incredible organization too, and they do a lot of good, and I was honored to be asked to play on that. And yes, of course, I hope I get invited back for any others, because they're all worthy. I mean, there's always a foundation or a group that's trying to help somebody else, and again, if I can be involved, absolutely, I want to be in.
Now, you've had, several career changes that we've seen, right, over your career. What made you stop and say, I think that I want to be a police officer? What led to that decision?
As a kid growing up, I used to go to a gym in Hanover. It was called the Hanover Police Boys Club. Small little gym, but it was run by the Hanover Police. And I just grew up around cops. And you get to know a cop out of uniform. You get to see what they're all about. And I just always wanted to be a cop from then. I had an uncle that was a cop in Quincy, as a matter of fact. He was a motorcycle cop. And I just thought that was the coolest thing, to see a cop on a motorcycle. And I was lucky enough to become a cop on a motorcycle. So I've lived that dream, too.
I'm just going to say, I think my favorites are the cops and the horses. Come on, the Clydesdales, like,
sure.
That's so cool.
Absolutely.
When you see those all lined
Absolutely.
up in Boston Garden, it's like the most magical thing in the world. You're
Right.
like,
Right.
oh my gosh, they're the horses.
For sure.
Do you have any advice for little kids that are looking to become a police officer or an ice hockey player? What advice, if there was a little kid in front of you or watching right now, what would you tell them if they said, hey, you know what, Doug? I love that you're going to book in a movie. I want to be an NHL player. I want to be a policeman. What would you tell them?
Well, I mean, it's cliche, but it's hard work. I mean, that's really all it is. I mean, I had no right being a pro hockey player. I just had to really work hard, and I mean, every day work hard. And I had a dream, and I just never said no. And there was a lot of naysayers and people that would just laugh at me and say, you know, you're out of your mind. But, you know, obviously hard work pays off, and we've always heard that. And that's no different than a career or profession. If someone wants to be a nurse or a doctor, I mean, you put your nose to the grindstone and just try to make it, you know, the best way you can.
Absolutely. Now, going through all of that and kind of looking at your future, can you tell us what you think is next for you down the line? Maybe like 5 years, 10 years. Do you have, you know, a goal or a plan in mind of what we can expect to see?
You know, in my personal life, I'm a father. I have 2 daughters, Vanessa and Victoria. They're 9 and 11 years old, with my beautiful wife, Sharon. And, I mean, being a father right now is my main objective. The movie stuff is awesome. And the charity stuff is fantastic, and I certainly want to keep doing that the best I can. But I think being a dad is really what I'm embracing right now.
Right now we have Jason Davis. I don't know if he's a friend of yours, but he said, I'm a big fan of Doug, and I'm a veteran with PTSD. Thanks to him, his book, and charity work, I wouldn't be playing hockey now and giving back to the community. So apparently...
thank you, Jason.
Thank you so much, Jason, and thank you to everybody that's tuning in. Guys, we are looking at your comments. We are looking at your questions. And Doug, how does that make you feel that your life is impacting so many people out there? And that goes to show you that you should be getting involved with more movies, more books.
Tell Hollywood
inspiring
that.
others.
Well, like I said, I mean, you know, Jason gets some relief from his life and the pressures that have been bestowed on him through military or whatnot. I mean, yeah, you know, like I said, we're all human. And I mean, you don't want to see anybody suffer and hurt in life. And if there's something you can do for somebody, you just try to do it. And it's as simple as that. And for me, again, like I said, you know, playing this hockey game Saturday night, if that's part of the deal, that's part of the deal. You know, maybe I meet a guy like that and he says something like that to me, that's great. Give the guy a shake and a handshake and you say, hey, you know, good luck and I hope you make it.
So how often do you find yourself back on the ice?
I try to get out there pretty often. I'm involved with a lot of the Bruins Foundation stuff. I try to get out with a lot of their events, whether it's with them or against them, you know, because like I said, I think it all matters. But whether it's golf or hockey or just even, you know, I've been to other fundraisers where there was no sports at all. It's just, you know, at a hall somewhere where someone's just trying to raise money for somebody. And I just think it all counts.
I love that.
The Bruins alumni are actually playing a game. I believe it's January 25th, if I remember correctly. And it's right in Newburyport. So if you wanted to come down, I think my dad's going to go too. We might just go and hang out. Emma and I love to cover a lot of their games and events, but I think for this next one, I just kind of want to like go have a beer, sit down and hang out and watch this one. So if you want to come hang out with me,
I appreciate it.
And my family, and if you want to bring Jake along, maybe we can go and hang out at that game. But it's, I believe, if I remember correctly, it's written on my calendar, January 25th in Newburyport, and obviously they're going to be raising money for some type of foundation. If you guys aren't familiar with the Boston Bruins alumni team, Emma and I do a ton of work with them. We love them. Frank Simonetti is amazing. Bob Sweeney. We cover a lot of their games and events. And the Boston Bruins alumni team, every time they skate, they raise money for a different cause. The most recent one, they were actually raising money for the fallen heroes, which that money goes directly to families that are affected by a lost loved one in the line of duty.
Which was really sweet. And this weekend, you know, going to talk with them, it was It was just incredible. You know, we were talking with Rick Middleton, and he was just so incredibly genuine. And every guy, Tom Songham was there as well. Every guy coming out of the locker room, they had this excited look on their face where they were just, you know, so happy to be able to be out there and just giving back and watching them play. There's so much passion in the sport, and there's just so much excitement in the room. And when you bring out those families, we were fortunate enough to be able to speak with one of the families that was going to be benefiting from that night's fundraiser. They were just so grateful and so sweet, and it's just a beautiful thing to see. I mean, it just brings tears to your eyes. Like every week they're out here doing this, and it's just incredible.
That event will actually be coming up in an upcoming episode of Boss Babes. And Emma, since we're wrapping up, I know that the episodes go by so quick. Emma's going to kick it off with some positive pop, because we all know that we like to end the night with something really positive.
Yes. So with 2020 coming in, everybody is talking about their New Year's resolutions and how they're going to be a little bit different this year. But here's one thing that I always say, right? New year, new goals. Think about yourself and everything that you've done in the past year, and think about moving forward how you can change it. So I can tell everybody, you know, right now what my goal is for next year. One of my major goals is to find a house with my new husband, and it's something that we're actively working on. So, you know, resolutions can be broken, and if you set a goal, put a little checkbox next to it. Make it something that you actually intend to smash, something really important to you that you plan to get up every day and work at. And just try to look at it differently, because New Year's resolutions last for a month. Goals that you have, long-term goals that you set out and really, you know, make a plan to smash, those will last for a while. So I can say with confidence, every year that I've gone from resolutions to goals, which may sound like the same thing, they're not, they're a little bit different. Every year that I've gone to, you know, set this list of goals, I have put it up on my wall. I've got the little checkbox, and I will go down and make sure I'm working towards it every day in a place where I will look at it and remember to get there. So I hope that all of your goals for 2020 are something that you really and truly are passionate about, that you believe in, and are something that you truly intend to work towards every single day, and that you find a way in your life to remember to work towards them every day.
And
so
speaking
set
of
goals.
Speaking of goals, before we wrap this up, because I know we're going to ask Dougie Smith really quick, where we can find him on social media. But Emma and I, speaking of the Boss Babes, we have some big goals coming up for you guys, so stay tuned. We're going to be on some other platforms, and we have some big news coming up, so get excited. And Doug, where can we find you on social media so people can follow where you're going to be at this year?
I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, and I'm on Twitter, all under Douglas Smith. And if I can real quick, I want to say thanks to you guys. You guys are killing it.
Oh, thank you.
You know, I've been a fan watching you guys now for a little while, and you guys are everywhere. And I hope you guys have continued success. And
Thank you,
if
Doug.
I could just say hi to my family real quick. My wife, my two girls.
Hi.
Yep, Victoria and Vanessa, they stayed up late to watch Daddy.
Vanessa's watching. Thank
She
you
is.
for your comments.
And Vanessa had her first basketball game tonight. She's never played basketball before. She had her first game. She did great. She killed
Yay,
it.
great job, Vanessa.
And real quick, if I could say hello to Bo and Georgia Chapman from my town, and just say my thoughts and prayers are with your family. And again, thanks to you guys. I appreciate being on tonight.
Oh, of course. Thank you for
Doug.
coming. And thank you all for watching out there. We will see you all coming up in just 2 short weeks. Stay tuned.